Hello, everybody. Welcome to TOT&HAM, the show where James and I discuss our weekly experience with Spurs and the Hammers. And the game week 4, you had a bigger game than we did in terms of North London derby. How are you?
All right. I'm okay, yeah.
Recovered?
Yeah. I didn't go too mad yesterday. A draw is an easy one to walk away, especially in an away game.
Yes.
Not go too mental through celebrations and not drown your sorrows too much. So
yeah,
I was disappointed in the end with obviously not winning the game, but I can't argue that Arsenal deserves something out of the game.
Yeah, I would have said ultimately, I thought Arsenal over the course of the game could have just nicked it, but you're not going to argue with a draw necessarily. Disappointment, I guess, is because you were 2-0 up, right, and you want to hold on to a 2-0 lead, even against a side as good going forward as Arsenal potentially are.
Yeah, it was critical. Watching the game after the second goal, saying to everybody, and we're obviously singing the fucking pub down.
Yeah.
And I was saying to everybody, this is the biggest 5 minutes in the game. Don't concede a goal. And
yeah.
Fucking hell.
That window
Danny
before
Rose should have
half-time.
just put his foot through the ball. We walk in at 2-0 and then you can settle down and you go, right, we go with a low block, we sit behind the ball. And Sonny had them torn on the counter-attack.
He did.
But at 2-1, you're still kind of looking for the third and trying to create chances. I mean, key moment, obviously, at 2-1 when Kane hit the post. Unbelievable strike cutting across the ball. But Arsenal come back strong. And trust me, I was quite happy when the final whistle went.
Yeah, I suppose at the end of it, they could have nicked it. I mean, Ceballos came on and made a massive difference.
God knows how they started without him.
Yeah, I mean, I said to you earlier, or off air, I can't remember which, when we were talking on FPL, that I thought if he starts with Pepe, Lacazette and Aubameyang, my fear is then the other three midfielders become the three holding midfielders in Guendouzi, Xhaka and Torreira, and then you're missing that creativity in between the two, and that's what he did. I did feel that Arsenal were going to struggle with that creative attacking midfield, linking the play.
In fairness, Guendouzi played very well.
He did. Surprised me how well he played, to be honest.
He kind of picked up the mantle a little bit in terms of the attacking drive from that area. Obviously, it was his cross for Aubameyang's goal at the end. I thought he played very well. Pepe's an absolute baller, mate. Like, he could be a very, very, very good player. Lacks composure at the moment.
That's the thing, isn't it? I was going to say, he's got so many attributes, and yet the final delivery, he feels like he's extra hard trying to prove himself, and so he's overthinking things or overdoing things. Once he gets his first goal or assist, I feel like when he settles down and he's not trying to prove himself so much, and he's like, you know what, you're good enough to be here, just chill out a bit. I think he's going
to be an outstanding FPL asset, but it might not be this season. Is my instinct.
I think it will be. My personal point of view is it will be this season, but I think the other side of Christmas. I think get Christmas out of the way, and then that's when it's worth looking at. But he's been dropping in price, right? So if he drops a little more at 9-1, 9-2, suddenly he's really interesting. And after game week 6, that fixture term for Arsenal is something else. I've been looking at...
It's now, isn't it?
Well,
Watford away next?
I suppose you're right. Yeah, the reason I'm looking at it from game week 6 is the move that I was looking at making was Kane to Aubameyang, and Kane's game week 5 is perfectly good at home to Crystal Palace. So it's the week after that I would move from any Tottenham assets to Arsenal assets. But overall, were you happy with the way Tottenham lined up? Eriksen more to the left, with Lamella in the middle.
The team come out and obviously was delighted to see Vertonghen and Eriksen back in it. It's so crucial.
Yeah.
I have to say, there was the first hour, when the hour in the run-up to kick-off, there was so many different opinions in terms of how we were going to line up. Was it going to be a back three with Sissoko at right wing back? I thought it was probably going to be back to this 4-3-1-2. A flat 4-4-2 was out of the blue.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Spurs play that way at the start of the game. I'm not sure ever under Pochettino. We've finished games like that when kind of finished with like a 4-2-4 with like Lucas maybe one side, Son the other, and Ali close to Kane, for example, and Eriksen dropping deeper. But to start that way, I couldn't recall a game. And it caught Arsenal a little bit off guard, I think. I said in the preview last week that those two, Pochettino and Emery, they're constantly trying to one-up each other in these fixtures. And it was obviously Spurs' formation was the massive surprise. And what it allowed a little bit was, because Eriksen and Lamella as in the two wide areas are technically good footballers. They're both 10s, basically. Mm-hmm. It allowed, obviously, them to come in and attack with a real sort of front four on the break, almost, like I said, a little bit like a 4-2-4. And with Arsenal that they will make naive mistakes. I mean, it's the second game in a row at the Emirates where we've scored from a goalkeeper's clearance.
Yeah.
Exactly the same thing in the League Cup tie in December. And again, Socrates goes up for a header with Kane that he's just stupid. And then Son's away. Leno has made an absolute rick there. He made a couple of good saves in the game.
That was the thing with both keepers. They made a couple of mistakes, but also some good saves.
Loris had a great game, mate. So I think we kind of played on Arsenal's weaknesses.
Yeah.
I saw someone phone into... Have you seen this geezer who phoned into TalkSport last night?
I haven't, no.
You'd love that because you love TalkSport.
I love the stupidity
banging
of it.
on about how Arsenal are going to win the league. You are seriously fucking deluded, aren't you? There's only two teams.
I haven't got an answer to that.
There's only two teams that can win this league and everybody else really needs to get over it.
I haven't got an answer to that.
But overall positive because we were all going into the game on a big downer. I think there'd been all this speculation on Friday. Bookies closed the book on Pochettino leaving before September.
Some bookies, not all, some did. Some bookies closed the book on him leaving today after the Arsenal game.
Did you see Pochettino's press conference where he's going to the guy, did you have a bet? And he's like, nah. And he's laughing, he's going, well, you lost your money. Like he's like, I don't know where this starts from.
Well, you're talking about there were rumours or speculation before the game about your formation. I've had all sorts in my WhatsApp, right? Apparently about Harry Kane had a fight with Vertonghen. Pochettino picked Vertonghen, and that's why Vertonghen picked Kane's side over it. That's why Vertonghen's dropped. Poch is fed up and he's going to leave. There's all sorts of rumours going around at the moment. Stupid ones generally, but we'll soon find out, I guess.
Yeah, I've heard the Vertonghen and Kane rumour as well. This was because Vertonghen had turned up at the Newcastle game with a black eye, which I didn't even know.
Right.
But it could have come from anywhere. We should say...
Yeah, Harry Kane doesn't come across as that type of guy who's going to give someone a black eye. Can you imagine Harry Kane punching someone? Nah.
Yes.
He's just not that kind of guy.
Yeah, I can. Yeah.
Now, Harry Kane, I see, is a nice guy.
Yeah, I don't suppose he hits his misses, but otherwise, I think, I could see him hitting someone.
He'd hit Vertonghen and then take a dive.
We should clarify, just in case here, because we're recording this on Monday.
Correct.
In the afternoon, and it is technically the foreign window is still open.
Yeah, till about 5,
now,
depending on the country.
I assume
5,
at this moment, other than Wanyama, who looks like he's on his way, and possibly Serge Aurier, I assume Eriksen and Vertonghen and Alderweireld and are all staying, I would have thought. Can't believe that Spurs would sell now. There's no rumours really, particularly at the time of
it
recording.
says on the BBC here, Christian Eriksen to stay at Tottenham, so there you go. And
yep.
above it says Mkhitaryan's joining Roma on loan.
Really?
Yeah, Henrik Mkhitaryan joins Roma on loan.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I didn't see that one coming. I didn't see Monreal leaving either.
Aurier's an interesting one, and again, we obviously don't know at this stage if he's staying or going. But the whole idea of Davinson Sanchez at right back was strange. I know Aurier obviously hasn't played yet this season, and he's probably a little bit out of favour, but he's a right back, and he should have played the game. Aurier's injury was a hand injury.
Right.
I suppose he had a fracture. So in terms of fitness-wise, he's been all involved with kind of everything non-contact, basically. So fitness-wise, should have been all right. Really strange one. I would be honest and say not everything is right. I think even Pochettino's been honest and said squad's been a little bit destabilised. Yeah, absolutely. So this window shutting is a massive, massive boost. And at least we go into the window now on the back of a better performance. And I think if we'd have been tactically better, we could have won the game yesterday. I feel like we have a real issue, unlike other big clubs, on holding on to a lead. At 2-0, I always feel comfortable. As soon as that first one gets pulled back, I think of like the Wolves game last year, we were 3-0 up and we so nearly blew it.
Yeah. Because
once the momentum's against us, we really struggle to get a foothold and dictate games again. And I think a lot of that comes from the weakness in in midfield, where in that sort of deep lying area, it's only Winks who's got the calmness on the ball to sort of slow the tempo, calm the team. Eriksen, when you're holding on to a lead, can obviously... He's not going to do that when you're holding on to a lead because you don't want him that deep. At other stages of the game, he can dictate the tempo, but not when you're holding on to a lead like that. We should probably talk about West Ham a bit.
We should. Home win against Norwich. It was an interesting game. You saw the highlights?
Yeah.
It started out a little bit. Overall, we should have ended up winning 4 or 5-0 quite comfortably, and it was a really good performance. I was unimpressed with Norwich. FPL Badger, our Norwich correspondent, messaged me afterwards, and he said that Norwich were not very good. And my friend Phil Daly, who works at BBC Radio Norfolk as their sports commentator, messaged me after the game, and he said it was the worst. He watches them week in, week out for BBC. He said it's the worst he's seen Norwich play in months. So those two guys watch them week in, week out. So I think from a Norwich point of view, you've got to draw a line under it and move on. It's not one of those defeats that you look back, try and analyse and look for the positives from. Just draw a line under it and move on, because that wasn't the Norwich that we've seen against the likes of Liverpool and what have you.
They had more of the ball.
They had a bit more of the possession. See, what's interesting, the way the game set up, the first 20 minutes, we were not great, you know. It was very, very sloppy, but it was the kind of sloppy that doesn't get picked up on the stats or anything like that. So, for example, a pass going 2 yards away from a player, he's still going to make that move to get the ball. So it's still a completed pass, right? But it's sloppy. It didn't need to go there. Or just a misplaced tackle or hoofing the ball upfield unnecessarily or what have you. The first 20 minutes, Norwich were quite tidy and we were sloppy. But the timing of that goal was really important. You could tell that when we upped the tempo and the attacking creative midfield players suddenly put their mind to it, we were cutting through them. So you could tell that we were going to be better. And the timing of the goal took the sting out of Norwich in the first half, and then we played much better. I knew coming out of the second half that we had to weather the storm for the first 5 to 10 minutes, and again, we did have to. And again, the timing of that second goal at 54 minutes or something, I think it was, again, killed Norwich off. And then from then on in, they just started flagging. You could tell maybe their fitness wasn't there, but the last 20 minutes, we were just hitting on the counter like again and again. The number of times we should have scored. Plus then Yarmolenko hitting the post, the penalty that should have been, the great save Tim Krul made from the header. It could have ended up 4 or 5-0. We were cutting through them on the counter very easily by the end of the game. The last 15 minutes, the amount of times I jumped out of my seat thinking we were going to score, and we didn't. But ultimately, it was a good performance, 2-0 win. I keep coming back to Norwich. Cantwell was their standout player, in my opinion. Not from quality necessarily, but industriousness. Like, he was on the left-hand side, and he was the one that was trying to make things happen and get on the ball. And he was quite close to Pukki, to be fair. But you could also, I think he'll end up getting quite a few bookings this season because he is a bit all action. Maybe he was just trying too hard. But other than that, not a good day for Norwich. We played particularly well when we put our minds to it. And it was a good all-round performance.
Talk to me about the three behind Haller. I'm interested.
Yeah, so we've switched.
There's a lot. Is it Anderson? Is it Yarmolenko? Is it Lanzini? I think there's a lot looking.
So it was the three of them.
In that, no, I know that.
Which was the one to buy? So we started the season with Anderson on the right. We've now gone back to what we had before, which was the right footer playing on the left in Anderson and the left footer playing on the right.
It's better, isn't it?
I was joking to my mate. I said, imagine 50 years from now, Andrei Yarmolenko's had a very good life, and in his old age, he sadly gets hit by a bus. And this guy's got a donor card. And the ambulance turn up, and they're like, okay, they're cutting his body to pieces, and they have his right foot. Now, does it say pristine condition, never been used, right foot available? Or does it say useless, only use this right foot if you're really desperate and need a right foot? I can't figure out which it's going to be, but that guy only likes to kick the ball with his left foot. So it started out with Yarmolenko and Lanzini in the middle, threading things up. I feel like the balance was very good with that structure, and that's what we're going to stay with. Yarmolenko likes to have a pop on goal. He hit a couple of perlers. And I say, in the same token, who needs a right foot when you hit the ball so well with your left? He popped out on Twitter on the West Ham official feed afterwards. He was like, "I'm back." It was all he said in the video. "Hi fans, I'm back."
Big whoop.
In a big Russian accent or Ukrainian. So I think those are the three to go for. Anderson played well again. Which would you buy in FPL? It's like the City issue, right? Any which one could pick up the points on any given day. So toss a coin and go with it. Yarmolenko is the cheapest. So perhaps he's the best value.
I went for, in my South team, I went for Lanzini.
Yeah.
I just felt on what I'd seen in the Watford game, there looked like a really good link with Allaire. From the highlights to me at the weekend, I thought although Lanzini obviously had the header saved from Krul and Yarmolenko scored, I felt like Anderson on the counter-attack in the second half was the standout.
He was the best of the three on the day, but that doesn't mean anything next week. Lanzini could pick it up and take a corner or a free kick and put it in the top corner.
Think that positional wise with Anderson coming inside and Yarmolenko coming inside as well also adds to the possibility of the fullbacks. I think,
disagree.
Well, look at the space that Masuaku's gone into for the first goal.
Sure, but also there were a number of occasions in the second half where Masuaku broke free and then just stopped running and just passed the ball. And the Masuaku of last year would have like made a charging run and done something stupid.
But he did for the goal.
He did, but it's not consistent. Like in the second half, we were talking about it during the game. It was like almost as if he'd been told, once you get to this point, stop and pass the ball and don't be crazy. Admittedly, we were 2-0 up and maybe he was just talking about conserving the game in the last 20 minutes. But having the wrong-sided footers, the whole point of that is that they can cut in and then leaves the space for the fullbacks, right? But if you look at them, I don't know about the stats. They weren't bombing forward in the way that you see some wing-backs, not in this game.
Okay, it's interesting.
But the potential for that to happen is there, especially with Fredericks' pace and Masuaku's pace. But yeah, Declan Rice played well. He didn't have like his best game ever, but he did enough to break up play when he needed to. And Noble was Noble. He played particularly well.
One of the reasons I talk about West Ham defensively is we know, as we keep saying, extended run of good fixtures for you here, right? You know, Villa away, United at home shouldn't be feared. Bournemouth, Palace, Everton, Sheffield United, Newcastle, Burnley, up to your derby with us in game week 13. Mm-hmm. And we spoke on the People's Poll about moving, if people were going to move away from the port, then where would you go? And one of the options is obviously to come right down and then move your formation about. So I think people will be looking at like Masuaku, Fredericks, Diop. If you had to advise people to go one, where would you go?
Oh, that's a very good question. Diop seems the one who's most nailed. Balbuena started the season and Agbona and him have swapped roles. So Diop is the one, in my opinion, that's most nailed. Fredericks has played every game. Masuaku didn't play the first game, but now is back. But Diop is the one that I would recommend. And he picked up 2 bonus points this weekend as well.
Masuaku top bonus with the assist.
Yeah, true. I can't see that happening week in, week out. It's a topic of conversation for the main pod, to be honest, because I noticed even in the Liverpool game, Trent and VVD picked up bonus points and Robbo was in the top 5 that could have. This season, have they changed the BPS structure for defenders to be getting into the BPS more? Because I feel like more defenders are getting BPS than previous seasons. You don't seem to think so.
I don't think there was any change, to my knowledge.
So why are defenders picking up more BPS than they have? And it could be
were.
An impression than not.
If you've got a defensive player, take the example you're talking there about Liverpool just briefly. We know that like Salah's going to struggle to get in the bonus, right?
Yeah.
Mane hit and miss a little bit for that as well. You know that like if one of those 3 Liverpool defensive guys hits an attacking return, they're going to hit a bonus as well with a clean sheet. It's a certainty. And Van Dijk and Robertson was very close for the 1-pointer. So, no, I wouldn't read too much into that, to be honest.
Okay, well, I'd take Diop as the one, just because he's the most nailed on at the moment.
The big one on Spurs to watch, definitely, is Sonny.
I'm in agreement with you. I think Son's going to find himself, and Pepe potentially, in that his ownership's going to stay low, because getting a 9.5 million midfielder on the whole, generally, at this point, will require some surgery in your team. If you have already wildcarded, you might not be able to do that. And I think there's going to be a ton of managers that are going to watch with envy the likes of Son and Pepe and not be able to get them in. So I could easily see them racking up points and staying below 10% ownership.
The major caution on investing in Spurs players is I have no clue, come game week 5 at home to Palace, how we will set up or who will start. So if Eriksen is now staying, you've got the Celso. Moura didn't even get on the pitch yesterday. Ali's back.
Yeah.
Suddenly.
I thought he did okay as well for the time he's on the pitch.
Who's that?
Ali. Dele Ali.
Yeah,
He was okay
the
for the
Celso
time he's
did
on the
okay
pitch.
as well. A bit better than the week before. Looked a bit
Yeah.
more up to speed fitness-wise. You can tell he's a good technical player. But then there's real options there. You spoke to me in the summer and went on worried about your squad depth. I mean, in attacking areas, fucking hell. Like there's an overload of options there now. And I think the reason there's an overload of options is because the expectation was always that Eriksen would leave. And at the moment, you've got, like, Lamella's playing. He's fit.
Yeah.
He's doing all right. The one benefit of Lamella, as I've said many occasions before, is we can press with him in the team. Especially if he's in a wide area off the right. He is the instigator of the press. Didn't see it so much on Sunday, but he's the one who can really set the tempo of the team without the ball. And that's why he shouldn't be discounted potentially as an asset. But I think at the moment you would always try and find a place for Sonny because he's dying. I was gutted when Poch took him off. I didn't understand it. Even if he was down to sort of 60, 70%, conserve your energy and stay up front because he had them on toast when he was running at them.
So quick, isn't he?
But the flip side of that is you're not going to get that many games where we play sides who are that open against us, right? Palace is, you know what they're going to do. They're going to sit in. It's going to be a lower block. We're going to have to be cautious of their counter with people like Zaha. It's probably a risk worth avoiding at the moment, but
come game week
Sonny,
6, 7 potentially.
Sonny, he's got to be on your watch list, kids.
We've just had Javier Hernandez leave to go to Sevilla on loan. And that leaves us a little light up front. I had a lot of people, like I mentioned last week, ask me about whether Haller was worth it. Obviously, he's popped up with a goal on another day. That could have been a hat trick for him yesterday. The day before yesterday or whenever it was. These days are an emergency one. So he's gone back up in price to his starting price at 7.5 million. I wouldn't put anyone off him. I wouldn't put anyone off Yarmolenko, Lanzini or Anderson. It's just who on any given day. You could have a day like Raheem Sterling had where City go and score 4 goals and you get a blank, sadly. So, whereas Haller, with Hernandez now gone, he's the main man. With Antonio's hamstring as well, I do worry if Haller was to get an injury, we're very light up top with no Antonio. But
you seen anything this other 2-bob player you got?
Ajeti.
Yeah.
Yes, I saw him. I saw him in the Newport County game.
World class, I assume.
And we'll get to see him against Oxford or whoever got in the next round in a few weeks.
Just reminded me, fuck this guy. Talking of world class, because I know he had the game of his life against Newport. Where was Jack?
It wasn't even on the bench. This is interesting, isn't it? Because the Newport game was midweek. So to go from starting, scoring, to not even be on the bench for the weekend.
Was he injured again? Or
No, well, I don't know. I honestly don't know. But that is concerning, isn't it? You'd expect him to at least be on the bench. If he's fit. To be left out of the squad makes me think something else.
He could always, he might have picked up a splinter in the warm-up or something.
We'll see.
I
but
don't know.
Let's not talk about him.
Everybody said he was incredible against Newport, and I just wet myself hearing that.
I don't know. He played well, but it is Newport, right? I don't know why he wasn't on the bench. I'll do some investigation and see if I can find out. But yeah, Ajeti, we'll see. When I saw him against Newport County, he liked to play with his back to goal, and he was all for linking up play, but he didn't do anything with his facing the goal, so that's not ideal, is it?
Facing the goal.
Yeah, that's what you want from your striker. But there we go. That's enough for Tottenham for today.
Cool.
I feel like we've been for our teams. Any questions about Tottenham and West Ham, by all means ask on Twitter. You can find us and we'll be happy to help. We'll be back next week. We'll do a little preview for the next fixtures. We're away at Villa, televised Monday night game, and you have Crystal Palace at home.
Eagles at home, yeah.
Yeah, there we go. Thanks for tuning in, and ciao for now.
Cue music, man, Charles.
Come on, you irons.
Can't you, Spurs?
Messi, encara 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 Messi.